Welcome to the ACCA Strategic Business Leader June 2025 Preseen Material Case Analysis Part 1. Now, in this video, I'm going to be showing you the latest Preseen, and the company name this time is called Dearn Shoes Ltd. It's an unlisted company having nearly 100 years of history, making shoes. Now, firstly, in the Preseen, that we are given the introduction before we dip into the industry itself, and the company itself is called Dearn Shoes Ltd. And finally, a very straightforward financial and non-financial information selected summary. Now, as always, I prepared you a detailed and comprehensive Preseen application note, so showing you the hot topics from my perspective that may be popping up in the actual exam. But before we dip into these 12 chapters, firstly, let's go through the introduction of the Preseen. Now, we're told that it manufactures and sells shoes. Now, what that means is the company itself is using the diversification strategy, which means it's the vertical integration here this time. So this means that not only it manufactures shoes, so in our country it's called Luckland. Now, in our country, we've got a small factory making formal shoes using the skilled labour. But at the same time, the majority of our shoes will be made by the external third party in another country called Scotland. And that company name is called X Company. So which means that Dearn Shoes Ltd outsources the semi-formal, casual and children's shoes to them. I would say that using the diversification strategy in this case would certainly expose our company to many risks. So especially that whether or not we can control the outsourcing firm, so that would be an issue. And of course, in terms of sales, in our country, all of our sales will be conducted in our country only, which means in Luckland. We've got our own 75 branded outlets to sell the shoes, and we also have got the online store. However, there will be no delivery of shoes if customer places the order through our online sales platform. Of course, there will be plenty of clues given by the examining team this time in the case. I would expect simple and straightforward questions may come up this time. To me, in analysing this particular company in this industry, it's very important that we understand that the supply chain risk would be very, very key, that may easily turn the business from a successful one to a failed business. Now, although we're told nearly 100 years ago, a fourth largest shoe manufacturer and retailer in our country called Luckland. And the country itself is very good. However, I would like to show you a real case apart from my summary, is that we may be considering to use the dual supply system in order that we can further succeed in this market. Now, as I showed you before, currently that we are actually using the dual system. Let me show you here. Firstly, that we make our products in our country using our own factory. At the same time, we outsource the majority of them to the X company, which is based in another country. Now, it seems to be that's fine. That's what I mean by dual, which means double track. But the biggest problem is that I will tell you in a second that within the Preseen that we've got plenty of problems that using that system may not be in the right way. So therefore, there will be lots of clues I will show you later on. That's why I will guess these may be coming up in the actual exam. But before we dip into any further, let me give you a real life company. And this company is called 9 West. Now, this company is quite similar to our business, which means the Dearn Shoes Ltd. However, this company actually failed and filed for bankruptcy already. Now, the problem of this company will certainly be, firstly, that it really relied on huge factory orders, like what we did. Because for the 9 West company, when they were to get a particular type of shoe, they will need to be manufactured by the external outsourcing firm, which means the external manufacturer. But it is not, I mean, in this particular industry, so you can't say to that particular outsourcing firm that please make 1 shoe for me. No, at least 20,000 pairs at a time. And this will cost lots of money and incurring lots of interest. And of course, the background of the 9 West company is that the company was taken over by the private equity firm using debt. And that's why they're using lots of money each and every time, tying up their money in the inventory, will certainly incur lots of interest costs. Now, it seems that it's absolutely fine that we place the order, we get the shoes. However, don't forget that this is something that is associated with the fashion industry. Now, usually in real life, for the fashion industry, it's like 8 to 10 week window that the fashion line stays hot. So that means that if there are any delays, that if we were to get the product from the outsourcing company or even the faulty product from the outsourcing company, causing delays will miss a lot of sales revenue in this particular industry. So this is why the supply chain management will certainly be the key in this industry. Now, the 9 West company actually uses the dual system, which means, as the headline shows, dual supply system. Now, what it did is that the large order, okay, the placing from companies or factories, for example, in China and the Southeast Asia areas, to bring the cost down, let's say $15 per pair. But at the same time, that it didn't plan ahead, which means that if there might be other type of shoes that may be quite popular, especially the smaller volume or more of a premium ones. Now, what 9 West company actually did is to place very quick or urgent orders, okay, from the smaller domestic companies. However, the downside of that would be the shipping costs and prices that, because of the emergent order, may increase. And as a result of it, this will erode the margin. This will reduce the margin. Now, it's important that we keep an eye on to the margin in this industry. And in our Preseen, in the last page, as we can see, that our gross profit margin actually improved from 24.2 to 26.2. But I do believe that this is not enough. So therefore, we will need to think about ways to further improve our margin on the exam day. Now, everything seems to be quite fine. However, don't forget that the 9 West company will need to pay very high interest costs at the same time, besides the delay in shipment that is beyond 8 to 10 weeks of a fashion window. This will cause the company a lot of other losses, reducing its margin. And in particular, in that company, they've got no true end-to-end inventory system at all, which means that when we are coordinating among different departments, that seems to be quite weird and it's hard for us to do that. So usually how it works would be like this. First is the store manager will see a particular type of shoe that whether or not is quite popular, and if it is run out of stock, of course the store manager will contact firstly the purchasing. Now the purchasing manager may be checking, okay, how many shoes that we've got in the logistics or the warehouse firstly before it decides to place the order from the external supplier. And of course, the logistics may be to check with the IT department and to see how many inventories are in stock. So the communication, for example, through emails, for example, or using the internet may be causing a lot of delays. In other words, a lot of emails, back and forth emails that need to be done. And this would delay the overall process. And besides, if finally the purchasing manager decides to purchase that particular type of shoe from the outsourcing firm, you will need to place a very large order rather than the smaller one. Otherwise, the costs will not be an advantage to our business. So therefore, that brings us the problem in our company, okay, the Dearn Shoes company. Because as we can see that currently that we've got the due system. However, it's just to be on the surface. It's not something that we are very good at because we can identify certain risks from there. So firstly, we will need to place large order for this, such as what the NIWest company has been doing. The NIWest company, because it didn't manage the supply chain quite well, as we can see there, that placing large order, incurring lots of costs and delays and missing the fashion window. At the same time, that it has got many retail stores, including the franchise ones, they will all be demanding different types of shoes to be placed on shelf. But the company can't do it. At the same time, incurring lots of interests and rental costs, and finally the NIWest company goes bankrupt in the end. And that would be a sad story. And what we would do is to prevent that problem from happening on the exam day, perhaps. Now, as we can see there, that placing large order, any delays, product recalls that may leave us missing sales revenue. And at the same time, in our Preseen that we are told that we've got weekly updates regarding our shipment, but daily update regarding the store inventory. And that would be a mismatch because the store manager would never know in real time that when can we get the inventories and where is that inventory. So that will leave us to many problems because currently each of the department will be encountering a problem called information silos because each of the departments will work on its own, and this will lead us to many topics that will be quite possible on the exam day. So therefore, let me bring you some of the important topics that I would highly recommend my students to focus on in the course. Firstly, I will highly tip process management this time, that possibly you will need to use the Hammond's process to identify different types of processes in our business from a strategic point of view before we dip into any redesign options. And in particular, using business process re-engineering would be an effective option this time. So we need to learn the principle in there. So at the same time, we're told about plenty of clues from the Preseen about the risk, including the economic side, including the rising returns and so on. And this will lead us to the potential value chain and even the supply chain issues. We'll also need to consider the stakeholders each and every time and the corporate social responsibility, and even thinking about the Porter's Diamonds model. Again, when we're expanding overseas, project management will highly recommend you to cover that, but this time possibly the post reviews and even the stakeholders conflict. And big data e-business, especially for the e-procurement system, they were highly tipped up this time. And also the corporate reporting issues related to environmental and integrated reporting issues. Corporate governance, I will highly tips the agency ownership structure. Marketing part, I will highly tips the marketing mix this time, which means the 7 Ps. Although 6 Is related to e-marketing would be quite popular in each and every sitting. However, that was tested last time. Not sure that if that topic will come up in the June 25 exam. And finally, last time, the leadership, which means the trade stuff, trade theory was tested. This time, perhaps culture and even the ethics question, I will tip that as well. And of course, in my mock exam in the course, I will create you with 2 very high quality mock exams covering the important topics and our recommended exam style, so you can pass this paper relatively easily. And I look forward to your exam success very soon, and I look forward to seeing you in the course from the next section onwards. Bye for now.
APC, accounting for your future.